Hey traders, welcome back to the FX YouTube channel. Hope everyone is getting some well-deserved rest and enjoying the weekend so far. For me, I'm still pushing myself to get back to a regular sleep schedule. Hopefully I can get adjusted for next week. Anyways, let's get into the charts and try to understand where price is going next week. Regarding the fundamentals, I won't go into the individual news events this weekend. I will save that for the session analysis instead and just focus on the bigger fundamentals. So first, rates continue to increase for USD, talks of recession, which could have significant impact on the USD, and as a reminder, ECB to raise interest rates on the 21st of July. And as we're talking about fundamentals, NFP did not drive EU either direction. Although I could see the price go either way, I was expecting EU to continue lower, and as it did not continue lower, it could be the first sign that price wants to have a bigger pullback. Now on to DXY. Starting from the monthly time frame, you can see that we're creating higher highs, higher lows. Currently, we're in monthly supply. Could see a reaction off the supply, but more likely to continue higher. If we go to the weekly time frame, so once again, I did have this marked up, sorry. Okay, that was weird. So if we go to the weekly time frame, you can see again, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, all the way up to where we're at today. We broke the last point of supply. Technically makes more sense to continue higher, but as you can see, we did have a noticeable wick. Could be a potential sweep of the supply, pushing the price lower. And if we go to the daily time frame, so again, higher highs, higher lows, we tapped into daily support now. So there's a daily support zone here, and it's more noticeable here how significant the reaction was, creating a bearish candle. On the daily time frame, it looks like there is some potential to see a bigger pullback. And if we go to the 4-hour time frame, so again, very bullish, and then we tapped into that daily supply, had a huge reaction off it, creating a huge wick, and thereafter mitigation of supply, pushing down further. Again, more mitigation, and once again pushing down further. We're currently in 4-hour demand. So if I look at the bullish scenarios, so potentially this demand could hold and price could just continue to the upside from here. We could sweep this low. Get my pencil out. We could sweep this low right here and then continue to the upside. We could also sweep this low and continue to the upside. And if we sweep this low, we'll probably come into demand before pushing to the upside. And ultimately, I really want to see this low right here break before I start to consider DXY turning bearish. So for the bearish scenario, we really need to see a break of this demand before we really start focusing more on shorts than longs. In terms of overall bias, I mean, technically you look at all the time frames, it makes more sense that we push higher to the upside. But fundamentally, I could see several reasons for DXY to start reversing for a bigger pullback and potentially the start of a long-term reversal. And finally on to EU. So starting with the monthly time frame, you can see we had big push down here, pull back into supply, and then creation of a lower low. And we tapped into monthly demand now. Although we created a wick on the monthly candle, I mean, it makes more sense that we continue to the downside on this time frame. On the weekly time frame, so once again, lower lows and lower highs, continuing all the way down to where we're at now. We're currently in monthly demand. Created a wick for somewhat of a pullback, and it looks like we're gonna continue to push down lower to the downside. And if we look at the daily time frame, so once again, creation of lower lows and lower highs. We had a bigger pullback here, but then continued back down to the downside. You can see that even on this time frame, we're starting to push into the monthly demand. But one thing that's different on this time frame is we created a bullish candle. It looks like we could get somewhat of a pullback on this time frame before we have a bigger push to the downside. And then if we go to the 4-hour time frame, so this is where we can start to analyze a little deeper. So again, pushing down lower and lower. We're currently at the top of a supply zone right now. So if we think about bearish scenarios, the first thing I can see is potentially price just drops from where we're at right now. The second scenario I could see is we have equal highs here. We could sweep those equal highs and then start a push to the downside. Oops, sorry. Sweep those highs and then start a push to the downside. And then one more scenario I could see is sweep of that high coming up, sweeping this high, coming into the 4-hour supply zone, and from there start to react and push down to the downside, attacking the lows. In terms of buy scenarios, I mean, order flow is shifting bullish. Potentially we could continue up from here. Ultimately, I think this supply zone is the area that we want to keep an eye on. If this supply zone goes, there's really nothing stopping the price from continuing to the upside all the way up to this supply zone way up here. But more likely for buy scenarios is we do have a pullback into demand. This demand holds, this demand must hold, and then after that start to push up to the upside. In terms of bias, technically based on higher time frames, it makes more sense for the price to continue to the downside. Again, fundamentally, I can see reasons for EU to start pushing to the upside and potentially start to have a bigger pullback or start of a bigger reversal. But for now, I'll continue to look for shorts in the areas that make the most sense, but I will adapt quickly in case longs start to make more sense. For now, the key areas I'll be watching are the break of the range early in the week. So first of all, this range I'll be keeping a close eye on, but ultimately I want to see a break of this supply before I start to look for longs. But keep in mind, even a break of this high, it does start to give EU more of a bullish structure, but at the same time I wouldn't go full on into longs until this zone breaks, because I mean at this point all it could be is using these highs as inducement, tapping into the supply, and can easily just come right back down. So that's something that you need to be very careful about. And one last point, I will be keeping a close eye on DXY as well this week, because again on DXY we are much closer to breaking a significant demand zone than we are on EU, which is much higher, relatively higher compared to DXY. So if I see DXY showing more signs of weakness, then I'll use that as a guide to shift my bias on EU more to the bullish side. Well, that's it for me for this weekend analysis. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what your bias is for the coming week. Drop a comment below, and if you found value in this video, please be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to ensure you don't miss any future videos. And I'll see you guys tomorrow for London analysis, and enjoy the rest of the weekend. Peace.